Happy Thursday! It is the Prop Queen Pod. We are going to be talking all things Thursday night football, previewing a little bit of what's to come this weekend in the NFL and NBA props. Jared R. Block going to join the show. We're going to talk Thursday night football and NBA as well. We've got football tonight, and we've also got some breaking news today that we definitely need to discuss how we're going to take advantage of in the NBA. A lot of things going on in the world of sports. And before we get started, so today I just was a little late because I was on the phone with my agent. We're talking about all exciting things and ways to grow the Prop Queen brand. And then he ends this 40-minute long call that we have with this. Good luck to your Ravens this weekend. No, don't remind me that the frickin' Ravens are playing the Steelers this weekend. The Ravens are 6.5-point favorites again. Last week they were 7.5-point favorites against the Bengals. Can the Ravens win? I don't freaking know. I'm so I can't believe that's how my agent just ended that call. It just really pissed me off because I'm like, if the freaking Bengals find a way to win this division with Joe Burrow, I'm going to be pissed. Thank you, Just Rodriguez. I got my hair done today because I'm actually going to a gala tonight. I'm very excited about the gala. So we'll see. But 5 years, 3 legs, decent ratio. What? I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. No Luca. Jays got ceased. The Jays are looking good, my friend Mark. The Jays are looking good. They're putting in effort. Hopefully they can make it work. The big news of the day, though, is Giannis Antetokounmpo is out for 2 to 4 weeks, which at least he avoided the Achilles injury, and it looks like it's just the right calf strain. But it's still a big deal for those Milwaukee Bucks. This coming literally hours, and there's the agent. You're welcome. Yeah, thanks, JJ. This coming just hours after the Shams announcement that Shams said Giannis was fielding calls to see if he's going to stay in Milwaukee. And then they said, well, Giannis only really wants to go to the New York Knicks. Then hours later, Giannis hurts himself and is out 2 to 4 weeks. How do we take advantage of it? Well, we kind of tried to last night, and we lost this bet by fading it because Giannis ends up leaving the freaking game with Rollins. I'm going to show you guys on props.cash. On props.cash, you will see the difference for Rollins and his assists with and without Giannis, which we should have. Oh, wait. Oh, crap. It's not posted yet because it's tomorrow, the game. I'm not going to be able to show you yet on props.cash yet. Let me see if I could pull up his info. I'm sure there's a way to, and I just don't know. Rollins. I'm going to have to find out if there's a way I could find players without there being a game, but I don't know if I can yet. Anyway, the stat was pretty much that Rollins goes from averaging about 6 to 7 assists per game with Giannis out versus Giannis on the floor. He averages 4 assists per game. So the way we're going to attack Rollins now that Giannis is out the next couple of weeks is going to be betting his over on assists. And for everything else when it comes to the Milwaukee Bucks, not looking too hot. But also, are people going to actually trade for Giannis hurt? I don't know. If the Knicks did, they're going to have to give up a pretty penny for it. But I think the Knicks are 11-1 right now to win the NBA Finals. If you want to get ahead of it, sure, jump in. A few other teams. I think, who else did people say? Oklahoma City was another team that people said could maybe go for Giannis. So, again, are we really banging on Giannis to stay in or out? I don't freaking know. Just Rodriguez says OKC has all the picks in reality, but he wants the center stage in New York. I think it's the best FU to LeBron. If Giannis goes to the Knicks, it's the one super team that LeBron hasn't played for. They'd have to give up Bridges and Cat. It's agreed, Joseph. That's what I heard as well, that they would give up Bridges and Cat to get Giannis, which honestly is fine. Giannis is insane as long as he's healthy. It would suck to give up Bridges and Cat for an unhealthy Giannis Antetokounmpo. I did see that Jason Tatum was at the Ravens practice today, King K. I did. It was very interesting. I guess he's friends with somebody. I didn't read into it too much, but I did see he was at the Ravens practice, to which Lamar Jackson did not practice again today. I should have actually started with this because JJ and I, that's how I started the show, was JJ and I ranting about how the Ravens freaking suck. Lamar Jackson not practicing on a Thursday is weird, and they've had a lot of days off. They played on Thanksgiving. Like, why is why is Lamar not practicing? He's hurt, guys. Like, he has to be. Something is wrong with him. Even though he's talking and yapping on social media, saying say less about people talking crap about him, because he's sucking. There are some trends going into the week, though, that really stood out to me. And I'll tell you guys about certain props that I saw. We've got Jared Block coming on at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. JJ, he said, so I need to drop him on fantasy. Same. See, it's the fantasy curse. When you draft your own quarterback ends up sucking. I never draft Lamar. I always end up picking somebody else because you're always told in the fantasy world, don't draft quarterbacks in the second round. And you have to draft Lamar, Patrick Mahomes, or Josh Allen in the second round. And I drafted Lamar this year, so I jinxed him. Rest in peace. Whatever. The AFC is wide freaking open. Should have drafted Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones' leg is falling off too. Kyle Hutton in the chat? I thought you hate me, Kyle. Guess not today. That's tomorrow's news, I guess. But yes, Gibbs over receiving is something that I really like. Let's dive into some prop queen edges of the day. We'll get into some NFL best bets for Thursday Night Football. And then we can get to Jared Block. And then on YouTube, I'm going to post some early NFL bets. So you can check out the YouTube page at Prop Queen Media. You go to the YouTube page, check out any early lines, early props that I like in the NFL coming up on Sunday. I'll post a separate prop for that. I don't know why Kyle hates me, Mark, but he always comes on this chat and tells me to get a real job. Hence the pinned tweet at the top of my X page, because people tell me to get a real job as if this is harder than a real freaking job. Harder. Wrong Kyle. It's your first time here. Okay. There's a guy named Kyle Hutton. Thanks. Sorry, Kyle. Your avatar looks similar to his. There's a guy, Kyle Hutton, who hates me. And he comes on this stream like every few days and he just like rips me apart. And I don't block him because I have the ability to not care. Prop queen is a real job. You know what the best part is? It's not a real job. It's the best part. Sorry, new Kyle. Thanks and welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, Kyle. Sorry about calling you out. This Kyle doesn't hate me. The other Kyle, who has a similar avatar to this Kyle, hates me. We like this Kyle. And I guess I should be better at not talking bad about people in the chat because it pisses some people off. But some people deserve it. But not this Kyle. Not this Kyle. We'll give Kyle some winners for today and Thursday Night Football to make up for it. Prop Queen Edges of the day. And I have a Prize Picks lineup that I already have up on my Prize Picks account. So I'll show that to you guys at the end of the show. Prop Queen Edges in TNF on now. And then I'll show you guys some props.cash stuff that correlates to some of my Prop Queen Edges of the day. And I'm glad that Kyle is not mad at me. I'm glad. John says, glad he transitioned to YouTube from the Twitter broadcast. Yes, so we will, at the end of this, switch over to just YouTube and talk about all things for Sunday that stood out to me from some early lines. John Harbaugh will be coaching the Raiders next year. Nah, these head coaches take a break. They take a year off. The question is John Harbaugh going to be coaching the Ravens? There are, apparently, from my sources, there are issues going on in the Ravens front office. I just don't know between who. That's all I was told. There are issues in the front office. They're getting hostile. The front office knows that there is something wrong with the team. The front office knows that they need to win now, and something's not working. I just wasn't aggressive enough to ask who in the front office is having issues with the owner. But apparently Steve Bisciotti is having issues with some people in the front office. So it's crazy. The Ravens went from being an organization that everyone wanted to work for and play for to now, we don't know. How many monitors am I rocking? Just one, actually. But I have 18,000 tabs open on my computer. Props.cash. Let me just get this up. And remember, you guys can use props.cash using promo code PropQueen, and you will get 50% off of the first month. And if you are a Prop Queen newsletter subscriber at thepropqueen.com, you got all these props with all the analysis early this morning. So anyone who's a premium subscriber to the propqueen.com newsletter gets these props. They got them at 11 a.m. Thursday Night Football. So the first prop we're going to talk about is Jared Goff over 249.5 passing yards. I was looking at Jared Goff's numbers against teams that are bottom 10 against the pass, which is the Dallas Cowboys. And he's averaging, or he's gone over his 249.5 passing yard prop in 3 of those 5 games. In fact, he's averaging 260 passing yards a game. At home, Goff went over in both his matchups against the team bottom 10 against the pass. We all know that Jared Goff always plays better at home. So everyone was saying that the Dallas Cowboys defense is looking better. And it is. It definitely is looking better. The Cowboys look much better in the last few weeks since getting Quinnen Williams. However, they still are allowing a lot of passing yards to quarterbacks. So I'll pull up prop.cash real quick to show you guys what I mean. When you go to props.cash and you go to this category on the side, it tells you over here all of the different positions. Like this one's obviously just quarterback because that's the only one to the passing yard prop. The last 10 games, 70% of quarterbacks have gone over their passing yards against the Cowboys. And then I think you guys could see that, right? Yeah. And then if you take it to last 5, 80%, 4 of the last 5 quarterbacks went over their passing yards prop against the Cowboys. So even though the Cowboys defense does look better and everyone's saying it's better, they're still allowing quarterbacks to throw the football. So over on the passing yard prop for Jared Goff at home in the Dome where he thrives. And again, look at those last few. Bo Nix over, Jacoby Brissett over, Geno Smith over, Jalen Hurts over, Mahomes, the only one that went under. And you would argue that Jared Goff's a better quarterback than Bo Nix, Jacoby Brissett, and Geno Smith. I mean, I don't think there's an argument there. So we'll go with the over on his passing yards. Jahmyr Gibbs over his longest reception. So I was going back and forth. I know everyone wants to bet Jahmyr Gibbs, but I was looking at the numbers for Jahmyr Gibbs and what is he, where does he benefit from teams that struggle against, running backs? Well, the Cowboys, they struggle the most against pass-catching backs. The Cowboys have allowed the 3rd most receiving yards per game to running backs. So since the beginning of last year, Jahmyr Gibbs has played 13 games against teams that are bottom 10 in receiving yards allowed to running backs. In those games, he's averaging 44 receiving yards and 21 yards per longest reception. The Cowboys have allowed 75% of running backs to go over their receiving yards prop. But when I was looking at the longest reception, he actually has gone over his longest reception more than he's gone over his receiving yards prop. And that got me thinking, what about the other running backs? So again, I'll go to props.cash, receiving yards. His number was just so high at 40.5 for receiving yards. So I was looking at the teams that are bottom 10. I have to pull up my numbers. Sorry, props.cash doesn't have the running back longest reception. I don't think. I think they just have longest rush. Rush long. Yeah. So let me get my numbers up because I also have my numbers on Jahmyr Gibbs. So, Jahmyr Gibbs in the last 2 years has played those 13 games, like I said, against teams bottom 10 against pass-catching backs. He had a 30-yard catch against Tampa, a 20-yard catch against Cincy, a 14-yard catch against Washington, and a 42-yard catch against Philly. The only other game that he faced a team bottom 10 against pass-catching backs this year that he didn't go over his longest reception was Baltimore. He had a 9-yard catch. But 4 of the 5 games that Jahmyr Gibbs played this year, he went over his longest reception prop against those teams that are bad against pass-catching backs. Last year, he had a 21-yard catch against Buffalo, 54-yard catch against Jacksonville, a 20-yard catch against Dallas, a 20-yard catch against Arizona, and a 19-yard catch against San Francisco. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 7 games that he faced teams bottom 10 against pass-catching backs he went over. See, I don't like receptions, Nick. I don't like receptions as much. We could go through it, but the reason I don't love receptions is because Gibbs is so dynamic that he could bust one for a decent amount of yardage, as opposed to having to hope that he gets 5 catches. Like, I just don't want to worry about a running back needing to get 5 catches. His numbers are super inflated. Even the receiving yard prop was too high for me. I couldn't bet it. That's why I was looking for another option, because I think he'll be good in the passing game, but I don't know to what magnitude. I'd rather like the quality for Gibbs over quantity because he's a running back. But we could look at props.cash real quick. I'll show you why. And props.cash will show you this too. Look at this. Jahmyr Gibbs receptions. That's a lot of red in the last 10 games. I'm looking at prime time, still a lot of red for Jahmyr Gibbs in prime time. So I can't go for the receptions. His receiving yards was okay. Home, like, and again, see, it's too high. So I had to go for a longest receiving yard. I think the longest catch was the best. Lions banged up. The Lions are very banged up, and you would hope it leads to dump offs. But again, I just can't do game plan, Gibbs, passing game, 5+ catches. If you told me it was like a 2.5, a 3.5, that's fine. But once we start hitting that 4.5 range for a running back, it's too many. Even like a Christian McCaffrey, it's just too many times to have to throw to a running back, especially when. And the other thing you could say too, though, in its defense, is that Amon-Ra St. Brown is not healthy. So if you're looking at somebody else to use in the passing game, then you can use Jahmyr Gibbs, and then you make David Montgomery more of your workhorse. For sure, especially against a team like Dallas that struggles against pass-catching backs. So I do like Jahmyr Gibbs in some capacity, but I just felt like a lot of his numbers were very inflated. So that's why I went with just one big catch. Dak Prescott under his completions. So Dak, one more thing about the longest reception props. So the Cowboys have allowed the third most receiving yards per game to wide receivers. Amon-Ra St. Brown, questionable with that ankle injury. But the deep threats of the Lions, Jamison Williams, Sam Laporta, and Jahmyr Gibbs are the other 3 outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown. But the problem is Jamison Williams, so he has 14 big catches. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 11 big catches. Laporta and Gibbs, 6 big catches. Big catches are 20+ yards of a catch. So those are your top 4 deep threats, per se, in Detroit. But I was looking at Jamison Williams' numbers for his longest reception, and they weren't that great. The problem is we don't have much of a sample size without Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jamison Williams, let's see, without St. Brown. Scroll down. That's the other thing, too. You could do, like, without a teammate. Without. That's prime time. Like, we have 1 game sample size. So it's not, and that was 2023. So it's not great. But anyway, just looking at the longest reception at home, prime time. Again, 1 game sample size. So it's not great. But at home, 1, 2, 3, 3 of 6. It's really high, though, at 28.5. So again, if I had to do a longest reception prop, I was going with the running back, Jahmyr Gibbs. I think everyone will be focused on Jamison Williams, but waiting on the status of Amon-Ra St. Brown. So if you guys in the chat end up seeing anything on Amon-Ra come out while we're on the live stream, let me know. And now my computer froze. That's not good. Oh, boy. Hold on. Hold on 1 second. I think we're back. Oh my gosh. Sorry. That was so weird. That was weird. Everyone good? Are we alive? Everyone in the chat live, right? That you could see me, please. My computer just completely wigged out and decided to crash. So is the chat good? We good? Okay. Okay, thanks, EC Money, for confirming. Thanks, guys. We're so back. Okay, I'm going to just tweet out that we are back. That's not good. And my face froze at me, completely concerned. We are back. Computer decided. We are back. TNF props continued. Whew! I really thought my computer just broke, which would have scared the shit out of me. So very glad that we are back on this. Yeah, no, the computer wasn't a fan of me talking about the longest reception props. Okay, let's get into some Dak Prescott, because that was the other prop that we were talking about before I went to longest reception props. Dak under 23.5 completions. Yeah, the free space was great. I was actually concerned that that was the free space. See, that's how much I care about you guys. I care about you guys so much that my face was stuck in the concerned, oh my God, everything just went to shit face. Dak Prescott under 23.5 completions. I probably didn't like that I was sharing my screen. It overwhelms the system, but we're going to do it anyway because we love props.cash. Interesting trend on the Dak Prescott completions props. Pass completions, Dak. So since the start of 2024, Dak's gone under 23.5 completions in 5 of 6 games against teams that are top 10 in completions allowed. He's averaging just under 22 completions through his last 10 primetime road games. So look at this. Road, primetime, lots of red, last 10, averaging 21 completions going under in 6 of the last 10. Against Detroit, Dak's gone under in 2 of 3. So just looking at the matchups against the Lions overall, 19, 26, and 17 completions for Dak Prescott against Detroit. The Lions have allowed the 8th least completions per game at 19. And 75% of quarterbacks have gone under their completions prop against Detroit. So if you look at the Lions, 70% have gone under, including 5 straight. So as much as you could be concerned about the Lions being banged up, you could see all that red on the side there of all the players, all the quarterbacks that have gone under their completions prop against the Lions. So we could go under on Dak Prescott completions. Javonte Williams, I hit this last week, so I'm probably not going to – I don't like to back my props 2 weeks in a row. I will back a loser, a.k.a. Josh Allen. He didn't hit last week, but I do like Josh Allen this week. We'll talk about that. Again, if you're just tuning in, I'm going to just do a YouTube stream on the Prop Queen Media YouTube to talk about the upcoming NFL props right after this. So you could go over to the YouTube at Prop Queen Media, and we'll talk about some early NFL lines for Sunday. But we're just going to focus on Thursday Night Football right now and some NBA props with Jared Block. Javonte Williams under 67.5 rushing yards. Javonte, in both games that he played this year against the team top 10 against the run, he had 59 rushing yards against the Chiefs and 41 against his former team, Denver. Looking at the games that Williams went over his number on the road, he went over his number against the Bears, the Jets, and the Raiders. The Lions' run D is so much better than all 3 of those teams. My concern is that the Lions haven't contained running backs very well lately. 5 of the last 6 have gone over their rushing yards prop. The Lions have still allowed the least rushing yards per game to running backs. So recently they haven't been great, but Javonte Williams under his rushing yards stands out. I'm not going to back it over. And then Williams under his receiving yards. He's averaging 7 receiving yards per game on the road this year, going under in 5 of 6. I'll show you guys. Javonte Williams, receiving yards. And then I'll get to some of your questions in the chat, and Jared Block will also help with that as well. So 2025, receiving yards on the road. 4 straight have gone under. He's only averaging 7 on the road. And then you look at his home games. Look at the difference. That's the road. And then at home, a lot more green. The Lions have allowed the 5th least receiving yards per game to running backs. 7 of the last 8 have gone under their receiving yard prop. So again, look at the Lions against running backs on props.cash, receiving yards, running backs, last 5. I mean, that's like last few games. Look at that. A lot of red here for the last few games going up against the Lions. Running backs have not been going over. Oh, I say look at that, and I'm not even showing you, dumbass. Here we go. Sorry. A lot of that red on the right side for all the running backs that have gone under their receiving yards prop. So a lot of unders there on the road, 4 straight unders for the receiving yard prop for Javonte Williams. Who are we talking about? Are you talking about Javonte? Talking about Javonte for that under? Because Mark was saying in the newsletter it was a good call. Do we like Tesla or Kennedy for anything? Let's bring on our next guest, and he'll help us out. Coming over from Trinity Analytics and Props.cash, it is our good friend, Jared Block. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
Can't hear you.
We can't hear me?
Can't hear you. I hope that's not a me problem. Talk?
Hello, check. 1,
okay,
2.
I got you.
Okay.
There we go. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. Yeah. Lots of stuff is just pending on this Amon-Ra St. Brown stuff. It's kind of interesting.
It is very annoying that we don't have info on Amon-Ra St. Brown. It kind of keeps us away from any kind of receiver props, I feel like, especially when it comes to Jameson Williams. We did have the question about Tesla or Kennedy for anything. Did you have any thoughts on them?
I have several. I think
of course
before we even get there, I think we need to. I want to be just extremely excited about the situation, but I have some worries about how effective the Lions passing game could be. We have 4 linemen on the injury report for Detroit right now, and we do know that Penei Sewell, the right tackle, is expected to play. That's huge. The problem is that we don't know if their starting center will play. We also know that Frank Ragnow, who tried to come out of retirement, failed his physical, and now he is not eligible to play for them this year. So that's a huge deal, especially when Quinnen Williams and the Cowboys now have quietly become the league-leading defensive line in pressures over the last 3 weeks, 29%. So if you're telling me Goff is going to be missing a few linemen, I worry about what that does for bigger plays. I think that's still fine for Jameson Williams. They'll move him around. They'll get him open. If ARSB plays, I expect him to be more of a decoy. He didn't practice all week, and I don't expect that to be like game-changing for them. So when it comes to Slaw and Tom Kennedy, who for me is like an August preseason GOAT, I think that it really depends on if the linemen are going to play or not. And I have my doubts on Slaw having the big play open, or at the very least, I worry about the amount of time Jared Goff has to develop those bigger plays. So for me, I'm kind of leaning into like if ARSB plays and some of these linemen don't, if St. Brown does not play or isn't effective, I think I lean towards Tom Kennedy getting peppered with targets over the middle of the field. I think that could be a good thing for Jahmyr Gibbs's receiving lines as well. So for me, I kind of lean Tom Kennedy right now. Slaw has a great matchup, don't get me wrong, but he really needs those linemen to be healthy to have success.
Let's talk about some of the other plays that you like for tonight. You're looking at CeeDee Lamb, and it's funny because I saw yesterday BetMGM's John Ewing. He posted that George Pickens has 99% of action coming in on his over receiving yards, which is no surprise. Yeah. Everyone's high on Pickens. So we have to, Mark just said St. Brown out. Is that confirmed?
Let's see.
I usually get a push alert.
Usually I do too, so I'm surprised I didn't see it yet.
Where'd you see that, Mark? Now,
I don't see anything from Underdog. That's my go-to source.
Okay, I don't see anything out yet. So I just saw a lot of NBA stuff coming out. But okay, let's continue to focus. And then if we get any news on Amon-Ra St. Brown, we'll let you guys know. CeeDee Lamb, though, you're going with him and you're fading the public on George Pickens, but you picked my favorite market, longest reception. How come?
Yeah, he's just been extremely good in that market this year specifically. He's hit it in 6 of 8 games, and not counting the game that he left early in, is he didn't get a target. So I think that that is a trend I'm worth looking at. Look, the receiving markets for these guys are just going to be way overinflated. It doesn't help that Dak just came out like 20 minutes ago and said that he's expecting to pass for a lot of yards tonight. I don't know if you saw that, but it just came out. So with that said, I think that again, like these receiving markets on these primetime 1 game slates are going to get smashed, especially if the entire public is on like the biggest receivers, which they are. So I think that the niche prop here is just hoping that this success continues. We have seen both the Packers and the Giants receivers, top receivers, go for big plays against this Lions secondary, who is going to be missing one of their top corners in Terrion Arnold and one of their top safeties in Kirby Joseph. So I really like this. And Brian Branch, the other safety, the team captain, is battling injuries, and he's actually a game time decision. So yeah, I think the big play is going to be here for both guys. I'd lean into CD a little bit with more of the success, but Pickens in his own right has done well here too.
Tom Kennedy, a receiver on the Lions that people just aren't talking about. Even in the chat here, we're not mentioning Tom Kennedy as much, but you just talked about him, over 2.5 receptions. Anything else you want to add about Kennedy?
Yeah, so he's been with this team since 2019. He's primarily like the workhorse wide receiver for special teams guy. Obviously, not as talented as Jameson Williams, as Amon-Ra St. Brown, and on top of that, like I think that Isaac Tesla is just basically Jameson Williams light, and he's just going to be that big play streaker guy. Tom Kennedy is going to get the hard yards. He's going to be over the middle slot receiver. I just feel like in a game where there's going to be a lot of pressure, like we alluded to before, he's got one of the better chances to just be more of like a chain down and distance type of receiver, especially if there's pressure. And he reminds me, he is very much like this Julian Edelman type of guy, like a super underrated slot receiver doing all the dirty work. Obviously, those two are extremely uncomparable, but that's kind of what I'm looking at here.
And then Dak Prescott, you said over on his passing yards. However, Dak Prescott, is that just because of what he said earlier, or is there actually
No.
Obviously, there's the Lions secondary. It's always been their Achilles heel. It's been a little bit better, but they still I like the under completions for Dak, just because that's been a trend that Dak hasn't been able to complete these passes as much, but it doesn't necessarily mean he can't go over his passing yards with one deep throw.
Right. So my thing with Dak here is that they have the 4th best offensive EPA per play in the passing game. This year, he's thrown for 300 at back-to-back contests, and in those contests, like you didn't expect those massive passing scores against the Chiefs and Eagles, but here we are. So I like that environment. I like the fact that this game, again, like I said, like if you were again like the 54.5 game total is insanely high. I think that this game has shootout potential, but I kind of do worry about the Detroit stuff. I think I'm just more into the idea that the Lions have allowed just so many 20+ yard completions in the passing game, the 5th most this year. And I just think that, with the efficiencies of this offense, I could see him going under completions just because of what is that, by the way?
21.5 or 23.5. Sorry, 23.5.
That's just a high number in general. I think that has a lot to do with just the 54.5 game total, and they are expecting, I guess they're giving Detroit the home field 3 points. I like Dallas straight up. I'm not really a side total guy, but I like Dallas to win this game. And I do think that could, lead to the success of the under completions, but I do expect him to go for over 275 yards tonight.
Do you think that this game, I mean, I know that and I'll get the exact numbers, I'll pull them up, of how heavy the public is on this over, but it just feels like such a public over. I know that it's a high total sitting at 54.5. It's on the rise. It was 53.5 on Sunday, and since Sunday went up. So DraftKings splits, it's not that much. It's 53% of handle, 63% of bets. So it's not that heavy to the over, but do you see this still being an overs game, or you think that there's contrarian under at play?
You can I completely agree with why people are excited to bet the over of this game. And I think that it makes a lot of sense on paper. If you were to So I'll just say that. Like, I do like the over of this game. But if you were to be contrarian and make a case, like build a case for the under, you can argue that no ARSB could produce some systemic failures for the Lions. We talked about the offensive line stuff already. There's also a world on the Dallas side where I came into the conversation with you still having that graphic up about Javonte. Like, if you think that the under of rushing yards, it kind of stalls this offense, there's a world where this game can just go under if Dallas can't move the football. So I think that they will, and that they'll do it through the passing game. But there's definitely a world where you can buy into the under, and we're not even like looking at like a massive under either, like under 50. Like if you get what would it be, like a 27-24 game, no matter who wins, is still an under, right? So
Yeah.
That's a lot of points still, and that's a great game. But under 54, that's just a lot of points to hit. But again, I still think that this one kind of just points to like my final prediction is 30-27 Dallas, and that's just a barely an over. But a fun sweat in general.
I love defensive player props. I just couldn't find a market, and I typoed this. This is my typo. It's Quinnen Williams. I know. It was just me being bad at typos. But anyway, I love defensive player props. I love total tackle props. The tackles plus assists market is awesome, and it's so underrated because we never usually could get a defensive tackle for a prop, especially like for prime time. Like they never give us defensive tackle props, and a lot of them do weirdly go over their tackles plus assists props. Props.cash proves to us that they're like 100% a lot of the times when we are granted the amazing overs on these low, like a 2.5 for Quinnen Williams. How come you chose Williams?
Yeah, I took the over of Myles Garrett over the weekend. That was again very, very. They gave us a 3.5 tackles plus assists play against the 49ers. This is a similar play to where I just think that the defensive line can overwhelm. Like I mentioned, the big. It's not even like ARSB is a highlight of the game, but I think that the under like lying fact here is that Detroit can get just absolutely bull rushed in the middle, and I think that they will try to run a lot with Gibbs. They will try to do whatever they can on the ground and play the way that they want to play, especially if they can't, like what happens if they can't get the passing game going against a bad pass defense. So I worry about a lot of things. And I think Quinnen Williams, like I mentioned before, has vaulted this Dallas defensive line to a 29% pressure rate, which leads the NFL. I think that we're not necessarily reliant on sacks here, but I do think there will be a lot of opportunities for him to push things. So I think that, what is it? What did I say? 2.5?
2.5.
Yeah, I mean that's just too low. Like
it's
he could
so
have
low
he could have 2.5 sacks tonight.
Such a star player like Quinnen Williams. And for the parlay crowd, you've got a parlay tonight, an SGP that's plus 1,761, so just under 21 odds. So what do you got?
Yeah, this is again like this is more of like a fun long shot type of sweat. We talked about reasons why the game could go under, but if you think that everything kind of just smashes here, like a lot of things say it could on paper, then this is like how you get to that 55 game total. I think that Dak can go ballistic here. I think that, if both offenses are on their A games, it's hard to say that Detroit is in a spot where their offense can do that, but we've seen Dallas's defense still give up a ton of points, even though they are stopping the run better and they're putting more, they're putting more pressure on opposing quarterbacks. They're still allowing a lot of like team points. So I think there's a lot of worlds where this can be in play. It's definitely a long shot, so I wouldn't put anything more than like a quarter unit on it if you're interested. But yeah, I'm running a giveaway for this if this hits tonight. So
what's the giveaway?
Head over to my handle. I haven't figured it out yet, but it will be cash.
Ooh, okay. Go to Jared R. Block on social media and you'll be able to find the giveaway for tonight if this SGP hits. Do you have to tell the SGP, or it's just that you bet the SGP and if it wins, you'll give it to somebody, a giveaway?
Yeah, if it wins, I'll give some cash to somebody.
Ooh, okay. Like, what do you put on this? $100?
Oh, I don't think I need to wait until ARSB. Well, I actually put the bet in already, but it was 25. So
okay.
I just think this is like a fun, like, let's just see a really good Thursday night game when we haven't had like awesome shootout games on primetime for a bit here.
That's true, but that's what we get on Thursdays. NBA action. You've got 3 different plays for tonight in the association. What's with the points plus rebounds prop?
Yeah, so the big story in Boston is that this is the first game that we're going to see Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum miss together today this year. So Neemias Queta, starting center. We've just been continuously smashing centers against the Wizards, and I think that you can just run that back here tonight. Also, Jaylen Brown has like a 32% usage rate on the year, and that's the first time that that's going to be spread around to all these different guys. So I'm going to lean into Queta. He's looked really good in this matchup. He had one of the best games of his season against this Washington Wizards team earlier on in the year. I think you could just go right back to it. Also, insurance knowing that Alex Sarr is out on the other side for the Wizards.
And then for the Boston Celtics, you have CJ McCollum for Washington going over against those Celtics on his 3-point prop. Why?
Yeah, so this is the time of year where we have a month of data on this season. So I am switching my metrics from season to over the last 30 days stuff. If you're looking at it from that lens, you can see that Boston is allowing the second most above the break threes per game, which is more on brand from what they did last year, but they had started the year pretty strong in terms of that. Now they're starting to give up a lot of threes, and CJ McCollum is the top 15 above the break 3 shooter. So he is one of my favorite 3-point props of the night. Whereas, I think everybody that's covering NBA today is going to talk about Anthony Edwards, and he was a great play a couple days ago in the same matchup.
Yeah.
I think that this is just as good of a spot for CJ.
And then last one here, Saddiq Bey going up against Minnesota. Saddiq Bey, for anyone who doesn't know, is on the New Orleans Pelicans. How come PRA?
He's looked really, really good, top play worthy since Herbert Jones went out. Now we know that Zion Williamson's out too, and it's the same market as it was a couple of days ago on Prize Picks, on Underdog, on FanDuel, everywhere. It was 23.5, 24.5 PRA against the Timberwolves. He ended up getting there and overwhelmingly towards the end of the game. So he's hit 30 PRA in every single game that Herb Jones has been out. And now you just add Zion to the list of guys injured. So he's going to play a ton of minutes. He's going to start. He's going to close the games. He's going to close halves. He's done really, really well in this market, and I'm going to keep riding it until it falls off, essentially.
Giannis Antetokounmpo out for the next month, probably with that right calf strain. I know you love to post trends, especially the trends from props.cash, to which what happens when a player is off the court? Have you noticed anything of the Bucks without Giannis?
So we've gotten this wrinkle here where Kevin Porter Jr. is back. He's only played a few games, though he's taking a ton of shots. I still think it's Ryan Rollins' show.
That's what I
with Giannis
said.
out.
His assists go up a lot without Giannis.
Yeah, and he did get hurt, but then came back yesterday, so that's kind of a untrustworthy sample size. But Ryan Rollins has been the most consistent guy, where you thought maybe historically it's been a Bobby Portis or a Miles Turner. Those things really haven't come to fruition. And we've seen that it's been more of a guard presence when Giannis is out. So think we're going to look at Rollins and KPJ moving forward. I'm not, as a Bucks fan, I'm really disappointed on the Miles Turner
I know,
acquisition.
I wasn't going to really dig that knife deeper.
Oh, yeah. It's been a terrible 24 hours there. I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen? What I do know is that we're not going to see him for a month, if not further than that. So
or forever.
I think you kind of just have to, at least for now, you have to really just believe in Ryan Rollins moving forward. I think he's probably going to end up being a top most improved player type of award situation. So I'd look at that. But yeah, I'm interested to see what KPJ and Ryan Rollins do together because that's going to be something to watch here. But I do expect it to be Rollins.
How much are you concerned about the future of Giannis in Milwaukee?
Oh, I've said it a lot. Maybe not on X or publicly, but in our Discord and where we talk about all that stuff. I don't have a good feeling.
You think he's traded by the deadline?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Which is a really fast turn of events. So a month ago he was saying that this was his city and all that stuff, and I never really believe in the Instagram deletion stuff. That's kind of just weird, but it does feel like it's heading that direction. His family's not even in Milwaukee anymore, and that's just what it is. So I got to see a title, and I got to see a a small market team win a title in that regard with him. So I'll always be thankful for that. But like the last thing that I checked just to be curious was like he's made the city of Milwaukee, the downtown district where they play those games, that's like, almost $5 billion over his career. And that Milwaukee's not a basketball city without him. So I think it's a really dark decade if he leaves.
I understand. But listen, all these places have been able to somewhat make comebacks. Look at the New England Patriots, who went on the run with Tom Brady, and they had a few dark years, and now they have the easiest strength of schedule in the NFL and are the number one team in the AFC. So sometimes the schedule just works out in your favor. But anyway, what'd you say? I'm wondering about Queen also tonight. Oh, okay. Last question, and then I'll let you go. People are asking about their Queen tonight against the T-Wolves.
Yeah, it's a terrible matchup for one, and we just saw Rudy Gobert smash this team, and he's in a really good spot again tonight. Look, I think that Queen and just the entire Pelicans starting rotation, if this game stays competitive, which they proved that they could take things to 4 quarters with the Wolves a couple of days ago, if that happens, Queen's fine. I wouldn't like be super bullish on it, but I think that all the starters here are in good enough spots to at least consider them. I like Bay. He's just been more consistent with Herb Jones out. But once you started, I was on the show, I think last week, and we were talking about Derek Queen.
Yeah.
Primed for a breakout.
A few weeks ago when he had the first breakout game for Derek Queen. I had that over.
Yep, and then we were on the show and we talked about it again, like saying that he was going to be awesome, and then he got benched and played like 16 minutes that night. So there's always a world where that can happen, but now with Zion out, I think that this is totally fine. But yeah, I'm not. It's not a great spot.
Well, and that's why I backed it that last time was because it was without Zion.
Right.
It's again one of those things with the Pelicans, just like it kind of was when who was it? Valanciunas, that was the Pelicans center, right?
Yeah.
And like then you go Valanciunas was out, when Zion was out, and it's all about Zion. And Zion is always questionable. There hasn't been a game in Zion's entire career that he hasn't freaking been questionable. But you are never questionable, Jared Block. You are always here on Mondays with me. I know today's Thursday. I didn't have a show on Monday, but we are glad to get you in at some point this week, and Thursdays are perfect for NFL and NBA. Everyone follow Jared R. Block on social media, Trinity Analytics, props.cash. You are the best. I will see you on Monday. Good luck tonight.
All right, you too.
And everyone remember that parlay, if he does hit it, Jared's going to give away something. So follow him over at Jared R. Block on X, and he will tell you what the giveaway is if he hits his parlay. I've got propaganda. Then we'll get to my prize picks lineup tonight, which features, of course, my two of my 3 favorite props of the night. So I'll tell you guys those. And then remember, for anyone who's tuned in right now, I'm going to just do an exclusive YouTube stream after this show where on the YouTube stream, I'm going to talk about some of the Sunday NFL early props. If you want to get in on those, I bet 3 of those on my Pickett Sports account last night. You could follow all of my bets over at Pickett Sports at Ariel Epstein, and you could use, or I think it's Prop Queen. Hold on. Let me see what my username is on Pickett. I have like different usernames on a million different things. My profile is Prop Queen. Ariel Epstein is the handle though. So you could follow at Pickett Sports. Use promo code Prop Queen. Sign up. It's free. If you use promo code Prop Queen on Pickett Sports, and you could track all my bets and you could track all your bets as well. But again, I bet all those last night for Sunday and for tonight. But first, that's so nice of you, Mark, to check in on New Kyle. New Kyle, did he leave? That'll be so sad. I haven't seen New Kyle. But New Kyle enters the chat. Anyway, it's the most bet on props of the day over at BetMGM. Let's get to propaganda. These are the most bet on props of the day. Do we fade the public or are they right? 99% of money is on Malik Davis over rushing yards. George Pickens over receiving yards. David Montgomery under rush attempts. CeeDee Lamb over receiving yards. CeeDee Lamb over longest reception. George Pickens over longest reception. David Montgomery over his receiving yards, interesting. And Kevontae Turpin over 1.5 receptions. Those are your most bet on props over at BetMGM tonight. in Thursday Night Football. Clearly everyone loves George Pickens. And I'm confused on the David Montgomery thing because I would think, and again, this is just me, I would think that the Lions are going to use Jahmyr Gibbs more as the pass catching back to add him as another receiver. And David Montgomery be your ground and pound running back. So the under rush attempts is interesting. I would go over actually on David Montgomery, potentially rush attempts. I'm going over on, like I told you guys, I'll show you guys the prize picks lineup, but we fade the public, even though I do believe that CeeDee Lamb or George Pickens, one of them has to go over. Props.cash actually brought up this very interesting trend. Let me see if I can find it real quickly. Props.cash did mention something about the two receivers and how they can be correlated. So let me find it. Where was this? They have a new market out on props.cash where basically you could see, oh, here it is. It says when CD's receiving yards hit, Pickens receiving yards hit 80% of the time. I'll show you the tweet. And this is the new market that props.cash has up. So you could kind of see how correlated things are, where you could see if this hits, what else hits on the team. So you could see here, CeeDee Lamb's receiving yards, when he hits the over, which has been 56% of the time this year, 60% of the time in the last 10, then you see on the right side, George Pickens hits 80% of the time when CD goes over. So I just find that to be very fascinating, how some of these trends could be correlated amongst players, like the wide receivers here for CD and Pickens. Royal Locks of the Day, brought to you by Pickett Sports, and also my prize picks lineup of the day. It is Royal Locks. Royal Lock of the Day. Let me just, oh no, I'm going to tweet it out first. Tweeting out Royal Lock of the Day, best bets. Royal Lock of the Day, aka best bets. Brought to you by Pickett Sports and Prize Picks. Even though I don't know if those two could be correlated, but we're going to see. So my three favorite props of the day, or I'll tell you the two. I'll tell you the prize picks lineup first. So this is my prize picks lineup of the night. $250 bet makes you $750. I really like Jahmyr Gibbs over 13.5 receiving yards, which I also bet at Pickett. You could see it on the bet slip, but Gibbs over his receiving yards, or sorry, not receiving yards, longest reception for Jahmyr Gibbs. I had to go with the unique market because the receiving yard prop went from 35.5 to 40.5, and that is way too freaking high. Gibbs has played 13 games since the start of last year against teams bottom 10 against pass-catching backs. He's averaging 44 receiving yards and 21 yards per longest reception. And then you go game by game and you realize that 4 of the 5 games this year that Gibbs faced a team that was bottom 10 against pass-catching backs, he went over his longest reception. But only, I think, 3 of 5 went over his receiving yards. And the Cowboys have allowed the third most receiving yards per game to their opponents. 75% of running backs to face the Cowboys did go over their receiving yard prop. And since Jahmyr Gibbs is tied for third in the most big catches on the Lions, and we are going to likely be without Amon-Ra St. Brown tonight in Detroit, I'm going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs over his longest reception. Dak Prescott under his pass completions tonight. Again, on prize picks, you have to bet one prop for each team in a primetime game. So I had to pick another on the other side. Dak Prescott under completions, 23.5 is so high. Since the start of last year, he's gone under this in 5 of 6 matchups when facing a team top 10 in completions allowed. Dak's averaging just under 22 completions through his last 10 primetime road games. Against Detroit, Dak's had 19, 17, and 26 completions, so under in 2 of 3. The Lions have allowed the 8th least completions per game at 19 a game. 75% of quarterbacks have gone under their completion prop, including 5 straight. So I'm going to go under pass completions, 23.5 for Dak Prescott. And then the other prop that I do like tonight from the Prop Queen Edges list, so again, best bets of the day, also brought to you by Pickett Sports. Jared Goff over 249.5 passing yards is another prop that I bet today on Pickett. He's faced 5 teams this year, bottom 10 against the pass, and Goff's gone over in, let's see, he's gone over 249.5, 1, 2, 3 of those 5 games. He's averaging 260 passing yards per game in those matchups. Goff went over in both of those home games against teams bottom 10 against the pass. He's always better at home. The Cowboys have allowed the most passing yards per game to quarterbacks at 270. 67% of quarterbacks have gone over their passing yard prop against the Cowboys this year. And if you look at the last 5 games, 4 of the last 5 quarterbacks to face Dallas have gone over their passing yard prop. So Jared Goff over his passing yards is my third and final, not in any order, my top 3 props of the night, which you could find over at Pickett Sports. Again, thanks guys for tuning in to the live stream today. I hope that helped. If you guys do want early action coming up for Sunday, I've got early props that are out and that you could bet. I bet some of them already. Like I said, you could find them on my Pickett Sports page, and you could link your sports book using promo code PropQueen. It's free. But I'm going over to my YouTube page. So go over to the YouTube at Prop Queen Media, and we're going to talk about some of these other props for Sunday that you could get ahead of the line move. See you there in about 1 minute. Bye, guys.